here with me to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, who came off a huge win against division rival Baltimore last week, is longtime Steelers fan Chris Weiss. How are you doing today, Chris?
Good. Thanks for having me.
First thing I wanted to talk to you about, as I always normally ask our guests, is how did you become a Steelers fan? What drew you to them?
I've been a Steelers fan for probably over 30 years. Was in 7th, 8th grade. I grew up in New Jersey, and let's be honest, nobody wanted to root for the Jets back then, late 80s, and the Giants. My whole family were Giants fans, and I couldn't stand it. So spent a lot of time with my friend at his house. His family was from Pittsburgh and big Pittsburgh Steelers fans. And you just kind of fall in love with that defense. You know, back then it was Carnell Lake and I can't think of anybody right now. Rod Woodson. Yeah. And you just fall in love with that defense, you know, and back then it wasn't big offensive, big splashes. That kind of came a little bit later on with Neil O'Donnell back in the early 90s. So it just kind of, you know, we definitely had our ups and downs, but, you know, the good thing about the Steelers is that defense is always there. So there's usually ups.
Definitely when it comes to that. One of the next things I want to ask you is, what is your most memorable moment as a Steelers fan?
There's a lot. Pretty much every play Troy Polamalu made. I would say overall the Harrison interception in the Super Bowl. You know, we used to have huge Super Bowl parties at my house, like 50, 60 people, like 30 of them were kids. We used to put movies on in the garage. On the back of the garage, we used to have all the kids would bring their bikes and they'd drive in movie theaters. And I was on my way to the kitchen to go set something up. And then I heard something was they were playing something, and I was walking back in, and I turned, look at the screen. All of a sudden, there's Harrison, just steps up, picks it off, and we're just rumbling stuff. I mean, that was amazing. That probably was the best play that I've ever seen.
Going into the season, what were the expectations for the Steelers? I know huge undefeated start to start last year, and then all of a sudden, following the Washington game, it just went into a tailspin. What were your expectations for the season, and what were you hoping you could see out of the Steelers? I know there was a lot of uncertainty whether Ben Roethlisberger would come back for the season, and when you found out the news that he was returning, which might be for his last season in black and gold, what were some of the expectations for the team?
Honestly, I knew we were going to be competitive, and that's really all I wanted from this season, was to be competitive. I knew that we'd have, more than likely, I think we're in line to have a winning record, possibly make the playoffs. We've kind of entered that rebuilding stage of what they're doing. And I just knew we were going to be competitive. I knew it was going to be difficult with the offensive line being completely brand new. A lot of players left. I don't think anybody expected DeCastro and Pouncey to just, leave like that. And of course, we got rid of Villanueva, which not too upset about that. And I think the Ravens are finding out why. But it was one of those things that, I knew we were going to be able to piece enough together to be competitive. I know a lot of people blame Ben for what's going on right now. And realistically, it's that offensive line. It's a different offensive line, different 5 guys almost every week. And that's tough. That's tough for anybody.
Was there a point in the season you felt that the Steelers were going to be postseason bound?
Yeah, when we beat the Bills. Game 1, when we beat the Bills, I was like, all right, we're going to do this. This is going to happen this year. And then, one step forward, 2 steps back, right?
Speaking of that, what was the game that made you think this team is not even ready for playoffs? They're not even going to finish maybe in the top 2 of the teams in the AFC North.
Yeah, there's a couple. I know a lot of people would want me to say that tying the Detroit Lions, but honestly, I called that. That's the trap game. That's the game we lose every season. It's the Washington Redskins. It's the Oakland Raiders. It's the Denver Broncos with Tim Tebow. Those are the games that we just can't win for some reason. But honestly, for me, it was when we lost to the Bengals the second time. Not even the first time. Even that, I was like, yeah, that's fine. It was the second time. That one definitely hurt.
Looking at the playoffs, potential for the Steelers to make the postseason, who do you think the Steelers match up the best with in the AFC playoffs?
I think we match up fine with the Ravens. I think that's a team that we can control and be in and have a chance at winning 9 out of 10 times. just there's something about their scheme that we do well against, and we can kind of keep that low. So those athletic type quarterbacks, I think we scheme well against them.
Who's the team that, as a Steelers fan, you're petrified to see in the postseason in the AFC?
Well, right now it's the Bengals. We don't do well against those type of quarterbacks. 3-step drop and get rid of the ball. Those are the quarterbacks that we struggle the most with. I don't know if it's about their timing or the zone that we run, but that's the team that I really don't want to see in the playoffs.
Now, I have two questions. Normally, I always give the guests a list of questions of what we talk about. I got two off the top of my head. The first one is, looking at the AFC North, did you expect it to be this competitive? Did you expect all four teams to be fighting for a playoff spot at the moment? In fact, it looks like most of the AFC, with the exception of the Jets and everybody outside of the Colts and the Titans and the AFC South, have been very competitive. But did you expect the AFC to be this competitive, and the division itself, especially now with an extra team added to the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. I did. All four of those teams have put together quite a roster. But, when you're an AFC North fan, the Bengals always bungle and the Browns always brown. They always do. So it always comes down to the Steelers and the Ravens in the end. But I think the Bengals right now, I know they took a bad loss to the Chargers. But I think overall, I do feel like and I hate saying that as Steelers fans, I think overall they're the better team right now. And I think they're really the team to beat in the AFC.
And another question we're going to talk about, the news talking about that this might be the last season of Ben Roethlisberger playing in Pittsburgh. Summing up the whole Big Ben experience, how would you overall sum it up? And two, what do you hope the last chapter of Ben Roethlisberger in a Steelers uniform includes?
I've always been a big Ben fan, a big Ben fan. I'm glad he came back this season. He has a lot to put out there. Again, a lot of people blame him for what's going on right now. And really, he's doing what he can with that offensive line. He doesn't have a lot of time. He definitely did a lot better when he had that pocket and could move into the pocket. But, our offensive line right now is still trying to figure out how to play with each other. And finally the running game's going, so that'll help things out. I'm not opposed to him coming back next year. I don't think he will. I think he's going to reach that point where he's like, I think it's time to walk away. I'm honestly not opposed to him returning next year and really kind of giving somebody other than who we have on our backups, a chance to learn under his tutelage.
I was going to say, did you think it was going to be him retiring, or do you see it as a Johnny Unitas in San Diego situation?
No, I see him walking away. He'll never play for another team. I can guarantee you that. I think that he'll walk away on his terms. And I think the way they restructured his contract in the offseason, I think kind of lended that opportunity for him.
Do you feel the future Steelers quarterback is on the roster now and Rudolph and Haskins, or?
No, I don't. Mason Rudolph will be, in my opinion, he'll be a career backup. And Dwayne Haskins, if his maturity ever catches up to his talent, maybe he can make some damage. I could see him possibly continuing to be a backup for now, but I don't think the quarterback of our future is on our team right now.
As we start going to the predictions for the Super Bowl, who do you have coming out of the AFC? Who do you have coming out of the NFC? What's the final score, and who's the winner?
Honestly, I would love to see a Chargers-Rams Super Bowl. I'd love to see those two teams go against each other with those two offenses. There's so much firepower in both of those offenses. I think, God, I keep going back and forth in my head. Honestly, I think the Rams will win it 34-31. But if those Chargers could figure out something on defense, they're going to be unstoppable.
Do you have any shout-outs you want to give to anyone? What are ways people can reach out to you on social media to talk about Steelers football?
I'm only on Facebook. I'm on some just because of my kids, but I don't do much on social media. I think social media is the devil. No offense to podcasts. I love podcasts. But just on Facebook. I'll give a shout-out to Mike Brittingham. He's the guy who kind of linked me into this, guy I've been working with for the last couple of years. So, good guy. And he's a Ravens fan, and we're friends, so go figure.